All right, so here's a little basic tech tip. I'm working on a G3 Ascent binding. All the G3 bindings are very similar in terms of this part, toe piece, cable, cartridges, all that good stuff. So earlier I had a seized cartridge. So what happens is a lot of times water kind of gets in and rusts against this part of the threaded part of the cable inside of this. So this was basically seized onto this where it wasn't going to break free. So a good thing to use, this is a blaster. It's kind of a penetrating lubricant that helps break it free. Works really well for this type of thing. So what I did was basically just put the ski upright and then poured it into the little gap. It's right here between the threaded part and this, and let it soak for a little bit, and then I was able to break it free. So the way that I like to break it free is I don't want to damage the cable. So usually what I'll do is if it's seized up, I'll let it soak in, like I said, inside of here and put the ski upright. And then I'll usually grab a pair of vice grips. And the way that I like to break it free is sort of fold over a piece of leather or something like that. Clamp it down like this. And that way I can break it free, which is what I did a little bit before I started shooting this video. I'm able to unthread it like that, and then I can proceed to fix it from there. And this is good for binding maintenance in general with these types of bindings. Any cable binding that sort of has a threaded section that goes into a cartridge like this is you want to make sure that there's some good lubricant in there. So what I like to use, this is sort of like a multi-purpose grease, marine grease, works really well. And what I like to do is basically just dip this in there, get a little bit on the end there, and this is what's gonna keep your bindings moving smoothly. Kind of spread it around a little bit, and then I can kind of thread these on, and you can go from there, basically clean it up, and then reassemble. So I'm gonna do the other side now. Just dip it in there. Sort of spread it on a little bit. Makes it go nice and easy onto the cable. Gives it some protection and makes it easier to spin your cartridges. And then what I'm gonna do is just reinsert into this little hole here, kind of pull this spring back. Sometimes it's a little tricky. You gotta get the ball in there, kind of pull the spring back, and then you're going to engage it that way and you're all good. And then you can adjust your springs to the boot size. You might need to clear these off a little bit just to get some grip on them, and then they move nice and freely that way. Same thing with this one. You can disassemble. You're just going to pull the spring back, sort of angle it, pop it out. Now you've got that free. Clear that. You can see there's a little bit of rust here. That's kind of what happens, some little buildup here, and that's why I want to add some of this lubricant. That might be a little excessive. There we go. Back on just like that. Same thing, we're going to expose this little hole right here, pull the spring back, pull it out. Get a nice threading going on there as well. Thread it back on, sort of expose this little hole right there again. You can kind of put that little ball into the hole. Then you pull it back on. Now you've got a nice firm connection right there. Again, springs are moving freely. You might want to clear them off a little bit just to get the grease off. Then you're good to go.